Unit 2, Financial Calculations and Personal Financial Planning. Lecture 3, Personal Financial Planning. Personal Financial Planning. Personal financial planning is one of the first and most important steps of the financial planning process and includes a collection of client information such as personal financial statements, cash flow and debt levels, assets and liabilities, and any education and emergency fund provisions. Once this information has been collected from the client, it will be analyzed, and the financial planner will determine whether the client is living within their financial means, whether the emergency fund is adequate, the demands on cash flow, and all these steps will lead to appropriate recommendations on debt reduction and any financial management strategies for the client. What is the importance of personal financial planning? It allows the financial planner to identify trends by gathering and recording client information year on year. This allows the financial planner to identify areas of excessive spending or if there's any cash available for new investments, and it also enable effective debt management. So with all this information, the client can also then determine whether they are on track to meet their long-term financial goals and objectives. What is budgeting? It reflects spending decisions made by an individual or household, but is usually analyzed on an annual basis. And it allows the client to identify certain areas of overspending, and it also can give the client a sense of control over their current financial affairs. And then what is the difference between a budget and a cash flow statement? A cash flow statement reflects the actual income received and expenses incurred, whereas a budget is an estimate of future income and expenditure by the client. Some of the benefits of drawing up a budget are, among other, it facilitates accurate and effective financial planning, encourages involvement from all family members, and can identify each individual's personal financial objectives. One can plan for current needs as well as make provision for the future, and the client is more conscious of what is spent and how it is spent and how that spending can be controlled. Continuing with the benefits of budgeting, can also identify financial problems at an early stage, identifies available financial resources, and it assists in identifying priorities and ranking expenses according to the level of importance. One can also develop a sense of financial responsibility, and lastly, it can also play a key role in educating children from a young age how to handle their money and be financially responsible. Here we have some additional notes on budgeting. It requires involvement from all parties. One has to take authority and responsibility over their financial matters. Clear communication and also realistic expectations should be considered when drawing up a budget. Then one should also consider the planning and time frames of the financial objectives. And the budget should also be flexible, and one should take into account human behavior. Everyone now and again is going to get outside of a budget, and lastly, you have to follow through on your budget. How does one draw up a budget? Now, this is from the perspective of a financial advisor. First, you're going to prepare the budget by calculating the estimated income from both partners. Then you're going to calculate the expenses. You're going to compare that income and expenses. And then lastly, you have a biannual review process for any changes in circumstances of a client's financial status. The purpose of a financial plan is to put the client in an ideal and stable financial situation. But as we all know, life happens, and there will be certain unforeseen events that will result in unexpected expenditure. That's why it's highly advisable that a client has an emergency fund for such circumstances, such as loss of employment, disability, car accident, or any unforeseen medical expenses. Now, some of the above could be covered by short-term insurance, but just keep in mind that an excess might also be payable. Because of these unforeseen events, it's highly recommended that the individual should have an emergency fund in place. This fund is usually enough funds to cover 3 to 6 times the monthly expenses of the client. The funds must also be liquid, meaning the investment should be easily convertible into cash, and it should also be invested in low-risk investments to preserve the capital. There are also certain alternative options with regards to an emergency fund. One can use a credit card, but you just have to keep in mind that it might have an influence on their budget, or you could also apply for a personal loan, but keep in mind that might also affect your monthly budget.